Friends, will you pray with me? And as you feel so comfortable, I invite you to join in the second time through. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O God. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O God. Amen. As I was preparing today's sermon, I was faced with a difficult choice. I could stick closely with our Lenten creation theme and preach about water, H2O, in its many forms and the lack of universal access to it around the world, keeping it clean, the fact that water changes if you speak kindly to it, the immense amount of plastic in that our oceans and ocean creatures now contain, etc. Worthy messages, to be sure, and a viewpoint that is not often given from pulpits. But this story, which is the lectionary gospel text for today, this story is admittedly one of my absolute favorites, and the message that I heard called to me all week. So today I want to talk about water that gives life in a different way. Maybe I'll share the other stuff in my midweek message. Our story this morning centers around a well, and not just any well, but a well rich in tradition. Jacob's well, named after the famous ancestor in faith. It is the middle of the day, the hottest point, where most people are tucked somewhere shady. It is the job of the women to obtain water for their households from this communal well. Most women would have gotten their jugs filled hours ago in the cool morning, but this woman is doing it in the heat. Perhaps she is unwelcome to join the other women. The text does not elaborate. Regardless, here she is, dusty and hot, carrying a heavy clay jar, which is about to get heavier, and she meets a man who asks her for a drink. She is shocked. He is a Jew and she is a Samaritan. Now, over the many centuries, we have lost the context that would have been obvious to the early readers of this, or the hearers of this story. Jews and Samaritans are like Hatfields and McCoys, Red Sox and Yankees fans, early, or even not so early, Catholics and Protestants, or, similar given the location, Israelis and Palestinians. They're not exactly friendly with each other. In fact, they don't associate with each other at all. Samaritans are descended from the Israelites who were left behind during the Babylonian exile, who intermarried with the Assyrians. They believe the proper place to worship God is Mount Gerizim, while the Jews maintain that it is the Jerusalem temple. There has been a theological split, and they who used to be family are now enemies, or at the very least, not on speaking terms. So Jesus crosses the cultural divide, and also the gender divide, and asks the Samaritan woman, whose name we never know, for a drink of cool water on a hot day. She questions his motives. He counters by telling her the roles should have been reversed, that she should have asked him for a drink, and he would have given her living water. She questions his practicality. Where is his bucket for this living water? Is he even more special than Jacob? Then we reach a turning point in their conversation, which, by the way, is the longest recorded conversation Jesus has with anyone, when he asks her to go fetch her husband. We can imagine the way her stomach must have dropped, the way her shoulders would have tensed. In a society where a woman was nothing without a husband, she was lacking this crucial relationship. This could have put her in danger, alone at the well with a strange man, but she tells him anyway, "I have no husband." Of course, Jesus already knows that and tells her so. "You're right," he says. "You've had 5 husbands, and the one you're with now is not your husband." Let's be clear about something. There is no judgment here. He's not naming a sin or calling her out for that which she should feel guilt and shame. He is simply stating a fact. He is telling her, "I see you. The real you, everything you are." Sensing that there is something special about him, she takes her opportunity to ask the burning theological question on her mind. Which is really the right place to worship? The mountain or the temple? This denomination or that one? Jesus tells her that soon the time will come when these things that divide will fall away. In The Message, Eugene Patterson translates Jesus' answer this way. "The time is coming," Jesus says, "it has in fact come, when what you're called will not matter, and where you go to worship will not matter. It's who you are and the way you live that count before God. Your worship must engage your spirit in the pursuit of truth. That's the kind of people God is out looking for. Those who are simply and honestly themselves before God in their worship." "I see you," Jesus says. "You do not have to hide or pretend or be ashamed. Bring all that you are before God in worship. The time is coming and has already arrived when the world's labels will no longer matter." There is a musical artist named Brian Sergio, who I saw perform once when I was pastor in Longmeadow. The church there has a relationship with a global ministries site in Haiti. And Brian has made many trips there, and many of his songs focus on Haiti and the Haitian people. He sang one song that night which made me weep and makes me cry every time I hear it, and has stuck with me ever since. And it's called "I See You." In the song, a little girl on the street asks for money. And in his conflict about whether to give to her or not, he looks into her eyes and thinks, "I see you. Little girl Christ, I see you." It is so moving because really, isn't that a need just as basic as the one for water? To be seen? To not just be a label or a number or a stereotype, to not simply be passed over with a glance or hidden in other shadows, but to truly be seen and then to hear, "And this water of life is for you too." I would like you to do something, and it's okay if it feels a little awkward or weird. But take a few moments right now, turn to a neighbor who's sitting nearby you, and if you're sitting near a spouse or partner, maybe turn to someone else. Look into their eyes. Really look and tell them, "I see you." Keep looking and hear those words being spoken to you. Then tell them, "God sees you." Hear those words as well. And if this is really too uncomfortable for you, you can simply sit for a few moments with your eyes closed and know that you are seen and loved. So let's take a few moments, find someone near you to look at in their eyes. You say, "I see you," and then God sees you, and hear it being spoken to you as well. Thank you for being brave. God sees each of you. The good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful that we all have inside. That, I think, is the living water that Jesus offers. The message that we are accepted for who we are and loved and included as worthy to be bearers of the good news to others. Remember, in the story, this woman, despite her likely status as an outcast, goes and tells the people of the city about her experience, and many begin following Jesus first because of her testimony, and then have their own experiences which lead them to faith. Consider the people in your life, all of them, those close to you and those with whom you have a passing acquaintance. Who among them might be thirsty for a taste of that living water? Who among them might need to be explicitly told that they are welcome to worship God with us in general, to know God's love and acceptance and grace? God sees you, and you are worthy and able to carry the good news of Christ's living water to others, just as the Samaritan woman was. We're not always so great about doing this or comfortable with it, to be sure. We don't want to pressure people or make it seem like we're proselytizing, trying to convert or save people. This is especially true for New Englanders. The word evangelize, which means to bring good news, feels icky to most of us. But that's what you're doing, right? Sharing good news with a friend or neighbor. You don't have to proclaim to know it all or be getting it all right or to be sure about anything. Even the woman in this story phrased her proclamation as a question. This couldn't be the Messiah, could it? Just throw out an invitation. Hey, maybe you should come check it out. Could this be a place of sustenance for you? Let them know they are truly welcome, whoever they are and wherever they are on their life and faith journeys, or if they've never even had a faith journey. And when they ask you what's so special about this place, you can tell them there's something in the water. Amen.